So initially, you may say, look, all I need is a CRM. We're going to eventually hear you. We're going to eventually hear a particular feature that you might need, in which case we can say, well, CRM X is the right one for you because you need this feature. But all things being equal, you as a customer need to consider the pricing. Of course, people may say, well, we just want to get the right tool, but pricing is always going to be important. The second bullet point, really important, is the ease of use. And ease of use is a very, very subjective term, because if you like something and you are comfortable with it, then it's easy for you to use. And there have been people who say that, you know, product A is easy to use, but product B isn't, or vice versa. So the question is it easy for you and your customers to use? Then user adoption. The ease of use is going to speak to user adoption. If something is easy to use, people will use it, and it will be adopted enterprise-wide. There are other things there, of course. We're grossly simplifying it, but these are the first things to consider. Then you get into specifics. You may have integrations. You know, if you're on a certain stack and you've got to have integrations to your legacy product, one tool or another may have that integration out of the box. We call it a boxed plugin or a boxed integration, whereas the other tool may require that you write code. So the fourth bullet point here is that you want to consider the legacy systems. Finally, there are things like additional fees, API usage. That kind of speaks to the first bullet point. Your total pricing is not just the license cost. You may also have to think about add-ons. If you have to add on something to one of these products, you got to pay for that add-on. It could be a third-party tool. Garrett, do you agree with what I've just said, or am I talking crazy talk?
Yeah, I totally agree, and I apologize for the audio issue there. You know, you started with, okay, what are we trying to achieve with the platform? Why are we doing this project to begin with? And then you start hammering away at those needs in each of these different applications. I always call it the aha moment, by the way. Both Sugar and SalesForce are best-in-class CRMs. There's no doubt about it. They both do CRM fantastic. But what's the aha moment? What's going to pop out? Maybe one does something a little bit better, and then we look at costs and all these other factors as well.
All right. Maybe one's got a phone system integration that you need, or maybe one's got a community group that you need, and the other one doesn't. So that's the aha moment. Exactly, yeah. You're right.
Yep.
Ooh. Garrett, tell us about this slide, the basics.
It's a fantastic slide, too, once you digest it. There's a lot going on here, but if you break it down, we've got SalesForce columned up on the left, we've got Sugar columned up on the right, and we just have certain different aspects of the solutions that you want to know about first and foremost. You don't want to go down the road of focusing on a solution, for example, if you really want it on-premise. And if you look here, you've got on-premise availability with Sugar, but not with SalesForce. So why even look at SalesForce if we don't want to do that?
Yeah, that's oftentimes one of the first questions that eliminates SalesForce. And believe it or not, you're about to get something that might eliminate Sugar. So some of these questions can eliminate one of the others really quickly.
You look at the row above, the customer satisfaction. Customers are relatively happy with both products, a couple of percentage points here or there. This is all done through our internal studies and marketing at BrainCell. If you go down below to the OS and mobile platforms, you know, they're evenly matched up. Again, we're talking about two best-in-class CRMs in the marketplace. They're the big elephants in the room. Yeah, but here's another one, minimum licenses. And so there's many
big one. That's one. Sorry, I interrupted you. That's a big differentiator there.
Yeah. Many times we'll say it'll be an upstart or what have you, and they say we really just need to start with 5. Sugar's going to have that 10 minimum license count. Salesforce is going to have 1 user minimum. So yep. That's fantastic. It's something definitely to gauge. Salesforce, and we'll get into this a bit later, has multiple different packages available to it. It's got a lot of different price points. And so what you could find, too, is that, hey, I only need 5, licenses, but if I buy 10 licenses of the Sugar Professional, for example, which fits my needs, hey, I can still, it's for my budget, allocation, I'm still below what 5 licenses of the SalesForce Enterprise Edition would cost because of the matchup.
Yep. Yep.
Then you get down to your architecture. If you want to control this in-house, if you're going to be doing any type of
writing
API
code, if you're writing
integration,
code, yeah.
right? Writing any kind of code. Is your development team good at PHP? Are they willing to investigate and learn PHP? Is it Apex that they're more interested in? What's the talent level like internally?
Right. Yeah, that's important.
Company. Yeah. And then finally comes support, and both of them are going to give you fantastic phone, email, portal support along your journey.
Yep. All right. Very good. Good assessment there. Let's look at pricing. I think that's next. And what you said about the minimum users, that's really important because Sugar does have a very simple pricing scheme. Salesforce's pricing is more complex, but there are instances where Salesforce can be lower cost than Sugar. Like you said, Garrett, if you've got just a few users, you may not want to pay for 10 users of Sugar if you only got 3 users of CRM. The inflection point, Salesforce has a higher monthly cost, higher annual cost. So the inflection point is somewhere, depending on add-ons and things like that, the inflection point is somewhere around 5 or 6 users. So that means, what I mean by the inflection point is where it becomes more sensible to buy 10 users of Sugar instead of 5 users of Salesforce or 6 users of Salesforce. So the pricing becomes about the same. There still may be indications that one tool is better than the other for your particular application, but as far as pricing only, it's about a wash at about 5 or 6. There are other versions of both these tools. Professional Enterprise, not the only versions they've got, but they're the main versions, wouldn't you say, Garrett?
Right. We couldn't really include the lowest base level of Salesforce in this comparison because it just didn't have the feature offering or the feature set that would be even close to the lowest end of Sugar, which is the professional version.
But let's face it, there are some people for whom that I think it's Salesforce Group Edition might be appropriate.
Sure.
So that's always a consideration. It's just not included on this because it's not comparing one thing to the
apples
other.
to apples. Right. Yeah.
So we're selling fruit.
Talking apples and refrigerators.
Yeah. I heard one of our colleagues, Garrett, used a coined a phrase, or apple and oranging. I like that. We got to use that more. It's a cool chart. This shows you the relative cost, and as you can see, Salesforce is usually going to be more expensive. Usually, Salesforce is going to be more expensive. That does not mean, I want to stress this, that does not mean that it is a bad value. Salesforce may be the right thing for you. If you need a CRM and Salesforce has a feature that Sugar doesn't offer, then it would be foolish to pay for Sugar just because it's lower cost. So I'm trying to be truly unbiased here. Just because Salesforce has the higher cost does not necessarily mean that it is a lower value. Would you agree with that, Garrett?
Absolutely, I agree.
Good. You have to. You must.
I was on the phone with a customer this morning, and they'd like some integration to their ERP system, and it's a very, very selected ERP. It doesn't have the market share to warrant a simple plug-in out in the marketplace.
Right.
And that's fine. How is the behavior going to work, and which CRM is going to be the better fit for that type of API configuration? And so you have to start, again, you continue to whittle these things down, and you say, wow, it's going to take twice as much coding in one application versus the other, and that's a budget line item to consider.
That's right. Sure is. Well, we've been at this witty banter for about 17 minutes now. I think that it's time to, time for kickoff, wouldn't you say?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Okay. Should I go first, guys? Let's start off. I'll show you something about Sugar. Is that okay with you, Kat? I'll start off. I'll show you guys some Sugar, and then Garrett, you can talk to us about SalesForce, and we'll talk about the comparisons. Now, folks in the audience, I want you to ask questions. If you've got very specific comparison questions, please put them in the chat box. Kat's going to get them to me and Garrett. And then also, this really is, we want this to be a discussion. So, Garrett, stop me and ask questions if you think that if I'm glossing over something. So here we go.
Absolutely.
Kat, you want to make me the presenter, and I will do this right now. I'm going to log into a perfectly standard, out-of-the-box demonstration version of Sugar Enterprise. Sugar Enterprise. GoToMeeting is giving us a little bit of grief here. So hold on for just a second as let me try something here. Sorry, folks. There we go. All right, we just had a little technical glitch, no problem. So I'm logging into a very standard version of Sugar Enterprise. This, I've logged in here as this guy named Jim. Jim is a fictitious user for some fictitious company, but he's a vice president of sales. He logs into this dashboard, and this dashboard is going to be things that he has put together for himself. Now, every user can create their own dashboards if they choose. I don't want anybody to be scared off, though. You don't have to create a dashboard. There are defaults. You can take defaults if you want. Plenty of companies do that. Plenty of people do that. But if you want to create your own dashboards, you can. So, for example, I've got one here called Accounts by Type and Industry. This is a dashlet, and I'm dragging this dashlet, this box, across my screen. These are the dashlets. A bunch of dashlets make a dashboard. You can see some of these dashlets are graphical. Some of them are tabular, text-based. They're interactive. And I can lay them out in any way that I want, and I don't have to just use these out-of-the-box dashlets. I can create my own dashlets. I may have a marketing dashboard with dashlets that I've created. The whole point is that Sugar gives you this flexibility to create dashboards and dashlets that are really meaningful for each individual user. That speaks to ease of use and adoption. Now, across the top here, I've got all the main menu items where I'm going to do my work. I'm going to get to these in a minute. But now I think I will let my dear colleague, Garrett, show us a little bit about the dashboard.
Sure, absolutely.
So Garrett, if you're ready, I'm going to make you the presenter, and you can show us how SalesForce handles dashboards.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay, so
that's pretty. Wow, it's got faces in there.
They have faces in here. We're actually looking at the Home tab, and so if you go to Kevin's point about Sugar, you'll see a lot of these different similarities. Let me get my GoToMeeting out of the way. Man, the trouble we're having with that today. But if you look here, this is the home screen after you've initially logged into SalesForce. And this home screen is controlled by administrators. You'll notice there are no edit options for these different dashlets that are set up. We've got an assistant doing some reminding for us, and so on and so forth. If you look back to Kevin's demo of Sugar, you'll notice that there's also a navigation bar here, just like there is in Sugar, and there is a tab called Dashboards. Now, if we go to Dashboards, you'll notice that once the dashboard loads, okay, there's a whole series of different dashboards that can be configured and then deployed to the entire team. I'm going to bring open this adoption dashboard here, and just like in Sugar, we've got dashlets, okay? But unlike the home team, which is controlled more by the administrators, the dashboards here is available to edit and to modify these dashboards on the fly. So I go ahead and I hit that edit button here. I can rename the dashboard. I can add additional descriptions, and then I can get down into these dashboards and I can start doing things like modifying the dashboards, changing the values of those dashboards, moving them around, and so on and so forth, and really making it my own. Once I make these changes to the dashboard, I have the ability to save it, and when I do, it's going to ask me, do I want to save it also for the entire team or not? And so that's going to be available as well. So I'm looking at these different dashboards.
It's very similar. Sorry to interrupt you there, Gary, but it's very similar. It looks different, but in functionality, it's very similar to Sugar. Would you agree with that?
A different style to the fonts and to the vision of it. But I'll give you another perfect example. One of the things that users love about SugarCRM, for example, is the ability to make very complex reports. And those reports can have graphs, charts, bar charts, what have you, pipelines, what have you. SalesForce is going to give you that same capability. So you can create very nice, sophisticated reports and not have to even run them. Because, of course, once you run a report, technically it's old data. And so these types of systems are really trying to move away from having to generate a report. They'd rather say, hey, take that report information, drop it in as a dashlet, let it auto-refresh, and you can see here how this dashlet, this component here, is pulling a simple report created in the report section of SalesForce.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Okay, back to
now,
you.
You mentioned that reports can create dashlets. Is that correct? I want to make sure I understand that.
Switch back over to Sugar, right, and show how a...
It's the same sort of thing. In Sugar as well, the output of a report can become your dashlet. So I'm going to take control here, and we're going to go into the next thing here. So we're back to my dashboard. You can see the dashboards. I'm going to go into an account view. Like we said, these areas across the top of the modules, this is where you do most of your work.
Now you may have to switch
the list
script. There you go. Good.
There's a little bit of a lag here. Sorry about that. GoToMeeting is a little funky today. There must be a kink in the wire, or it must be all those people tying in to watch the Super Bowl in 4 days. Maybe they thought we really were the Super Bowl. I could see how that happened. So this is my accounts module, and I'm looking at a list of all the accounts, the companies, in my database. Now on the right-hand side here, I've got this info panel. I can collapse this or leave it open. The info panel is another place where I can add dashlets and create other dashboards. These dashboards can be related to the things I'm seeing in the main panel or not. I'm going to see in the next step where the dashboards can actually be totally contextual. So that'll be kind of cool. I can also use this right-hand panel to preview. If I click the creepy little eye, I can preview what's going on inside this account, environmental tech. And I can page through it this way. But let's say I don't want to use that right-hand pane. I need more real estate. I can collapse it, and I can see just a row and column list. Now, Sugar and SalesForce are both very similar in this regard. This is customizable. So if I'm keeping custom information about my accounts, I make custom fields. I can drop those custom fields into a list view. So I'm not locked into this list. And in fact, I can see the fields that are available to me. If I'm keeping the CEO's favorite car color as a field, a custom field, I'd see that over here. This is my list of companies. I can drill right into one, Vermont Growers Association, and I've got a very a clean view of the account, information about the account. I can expand this right-hand panel, and this is where I'm going to see some contextual graphics, contextual information. Let me go back to my list view. Notice that a Vermont Growers Association was favorited. There are a couple here that are favorites. I'm going to click on another favorite of mine, Union Bank. Just like with Vermont Growers, I can see the accounts that I've got. I can see information about the account, metrics that I've got going for cases and opportunities. I can see the metadata about this company. I've got Union Bank, their website, their addresses. If I expand it, I see more information. I don't have to expand it. I can keep it concise if I'd like. And then in these subpanels, I can see contacts and opportunities, things like that. These are items that are related. A related item is a record in another module. A record in another module. So for example, I have several opportunities associated with Union Bank, and I can see those opportunities here. Oops. I can see those opportunities here. I have several people associated with Union Bank, and I can see the people here. If I click on one of these people, say Brenda, Then I go into Brenda's contact record, and I can see similar sorts of stuff. I see her metadata, I see related records down below, and I see information that I put in a dashboard on the right-hand side. In this case, I'm looking at Act-On. Act-On is a marketing tool, a third-party marketing tool, and I'm seeing information about how Brenda has interacted with our marketing department through this Act-On plugin. So I just briefly showed you how accounts and contacts are managed. Maybe this is the right time to hand it back over to Garrett. And Garrett, you show us how accounts and contacts are managed. Make sense?
It's fantastic.
Coming your way. There you go.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to switch over to the account section just like Kevin did. And again, you're going to notice a lot of similarities here between SalesForce and SugarCRM. As I click on accounts, it brings me to a wonderful little list. Now, just like Kevin showed you with filters, SalesForce as well has filters. And I can go ahead and change my filters. I can create brand new filters. I can modify the filters. Kevin may have shown you that you can click and reorganize the columns in the filter view of Sugar. Can't do that with SalesForce. That's going to be a little bit of difference. What you can do though is modify your view that you're in through this little component right here. Edit the list and also select fields to display in the order in which you want to display them. So I log into the system and I go to my accounts, and perhaps I just load the accounts that I'm specifically working on, so I don't have to do that redundant searching that no one really wants to do throughout the day. And then once I have my list up, I simply just click on a specific account and I can go directly into the detail of it. Also, based on the list view that I have here, I've got the ability to show a chart. So just like SugarCRM has that sub panel, and it's going to show different dashlets that each user can customize. Well, the chart view here for SalesForce is going to give you the same thing. Here I have a list of all the different charts that I can select from, and of course, as I go through this chart, it is interactive as well. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go into global media. Nice little sample record here. As you would expect from any enterprise CRM platform, the form is completely customizable, just as it is in SugarCRM. They position the data a bit differently in SalesForce than they do with Sugar. Sugar relies primarily on those subpanels. I call them subpanels, if anything. SalesForce has subpanels as well to organize the data, but it also tends to import more graphical information at the top of the forms by default. So here we are, and we've got our basic account information here at the top. We can see that Kat Stone is the owner of the record, and we have links to go back to that employee record as well. But over here on the right-hand side is really what Sugar has as calls, meetings, and tasks. It's an activity center. There's a chatter for inter-office communication. This is where I'm going to log my calls against the account. This is where I'm going to schedule my events, and maybe even just email directly out of Sugar. Okay. Very nice feature here to the left of the screen is going to be the news feed. So this integration is searching the news wires for updates about that account, giving you that information. Here you can see an account that's pulled up. It may not be relevant. That's the thing about it. It may not be relevant. It's looking for global media out there on the wires, and we can see this is an article from about 6 days ago. We have another article up here from about 2 days ago. Now, this is, as we scroll down to the lower sections, staying with the left-hand side, we can see that we have 3 contacts associated to global media, 3 contacts that we happen to be working with, a total of 6 or more opportunities. Actually, I'll view all here. And I can now see a total list of all the opportunities we've ever had with global media. Let's go back to the account record. Some of those opportunities may be with John Amos. Some of those opportunities may be, the primary may be Jeff Miner. But as we're working opportunities with these primary contacts, okay, it's rolling up all that activity to the account record. You'll also notice that as I go over the hyperlinked areas, the hyperlinked text in salesforce.com, it's displaying additional information. Okay, and again, what it displays is customizable as well. So here I put my mouse over John Amos, and I can see the specific opportunities that we work with him. I can see his specific phone number, his specific email, and I can take action on all these items as well. As I scroll down, I see additional subpanels. I see subpanels for contracts and service tickets, which most CRMs call cases, a notes area, and of course, every area of Salesforce is going to have the ability to upload and documents and files, pictures, Excel spreadsheets, PowerPoint presentations, what have you.
What you just mentioned, Garrett,
yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but what you just mentioned is an important thing, uploading attached documents and things like that. Both Sugar and Salesforce have limits on the memory space, on the storage, that's what I'm trying to say. Both Sugar and Salesforce have storage limits. Storage limits are almost always related to the attached files, the uploaded files, not to the data itself. I bring it up because that's an important consideration for cost. If you've got a lot of attached files and a lot of storage requirements, then you might have to pay extra, irrespective of the product. I'm not talking about either product. Both products, you may have to pay extra because you may need more storage. So it's important to bring that consideration up early. If you do have a lot of storage, I've got a couple of customers for whom this is really important. You got a lot of storage, so they say, well, we've got to bring it in-house because we don't want to pay for storage. We're going to bring all of our storage in-house. You could write custom code and still keep something in the vendor cloud, but store locally. Or you could bring the whole CRM system on-premise. So just another consideration.
Or connected to third-party applications like a box, like a Google Drive, and offset those space limitations in your CRM to maybe a cheaper solution, PandaDocs, something like that.
You're not only good looking, he's smart.
I do my best. Now, on the right-hand side, not only do we track our activity and we have our inter-office communications, but we also have a timeline. So we can actually look through this timeline here, and we can see what we're doing next with that account. We can see everything that we've ever done in the past with that account in a nice timeline fashion. And of course, as I mentioned before, I can simply click on any of these associated records to the account, like a contact record, like what Kevin did with Sugar, and it's going to take me right to the contact that I selected. The same principles. It's very, very consistent in its behavior, whether I'm looking at accounts or contacts or leads. Once a user understands this interface, they're going to see that consistency across the board as they go to these other modules in the program. And that's something that Sugar does very well also. So here, as I go into John, I can see the opportunities I've worked with him, any past activity timelines, again, document management, notes, and service cases.
Very good. What would you say is the biggest, have you seen any, this is a loaded question, have you seen any big differences between these two products? If so, what is the biggest difference so far?
No, they're both watching each other extremely close. I think they're looking at it in through each other's windows in a lot of regard. And and one puts out a release and it's got something new that you say, oh, that's nice, and another one slowly catches up and gets right behind it. There's also several trends in the CRM. There's several trends in the CRM industry that everyone is following. Predictive analytics and things like that are a huge hot topic in the industry right now. One major thing that pops out between Salesforce and Sugar, well, let's go to something like maybe our accounts list view, and I'm going to load up all the accounts in the system, and it's a beautiful list view. But over here, you'll notice additional options to. Wait, did I get myself turned around here?
That filtering.
Additional to filter within the list view. So whereas Sugar is going to give you a nice search box at the top and you can search within a filter, we can actually do some additional filtering right here. So it's a bit more powerful on that end.
Yeah, you can do filtering with Sugar, but it's a different sort, different way. Yeah, very good. I think the biggest difference here is that they look different. So I think Kat Stone, our marketing director, has a poll. I think she's going to put a poll up here for people to take. Why don't you throw that poll up, Kat? What is the most important factor when purchasing a CRM? I don't want to give anybody a bias. These are some of the things we mentioned before: cost, features, integrations, support, something else. So please vote on this as we continue. What is the most important factor when purchasing a CRM? I'm going to take control back here, and let's get back into Sugar. We've got about 15 minutes left. We'll try to split this up equally. Okay. We're back to my instance of Sugar, Union Bank. Let's talk about making appointments, contacting customers, and winning an opportunity. As you can see, I've got my main account record here, lots of different contacts and some opportunities. Well, hopefully I'm going to be working with the people to create opportunities. I'm going to drill into Brenda Armstrong's record and just show you how a day in the life might work. Let's just say a phone call comes in, and I use this third-party product called Tenfold, and my phone rings, it pops this up, and it connects it to Brenda Armstrong. So I know this is Brenda Armstrong's call coming in. I'm going to do manually what Tenfold would do automatically, and I'm going to create a call record. I do this manually so that you guys can see what the automated process would be doing behind the scenes, but I want you to see it. So this would be discuss new opportunity. So Brenda calls me. She has a new need. There's going to be an opportunity here. It's assigned to me, this fictitious person. I can add other people to it. If this were something that I was scheduling into the future, I could do that here, but this is an internal call. It's held automatically and saved. So call comes in. I just did manually what Tenfold would do automatically, create a call record. It's related to a new opportunity. So I immediately say, hey, man, I'm a great salesperson. I'm going to create this new opportunity. So it's Union Bank, and it's going to be 10 new widgets. So I'm creating an opportunity based on that phone call. It's associated with Union Bank. I want to put in my best and likelies and worst, but my goodness, look at this. It says it won't let me put anything in here. Well, that's because I've got revenue line items turned on. Everybody's familiar with line items on a quote. You toss out a quote and it's got separate line items, but Sugar Enterprise version 7 will allow you to put line items on an opportunity as well. Imagine if you're selling a year's worth of advertisements in a magazine. You may break it up into a line item for each month, January, February, March. I'm going to say this, these 10 new widgets are going to require some hardware. And man, I'm going to be so aggressive. I'm closing this by the end of the month. I expect that it's going to be, they're $1,000 a piece. And I've got 10 of them in here. Now I just typed this in on my own. Notice as I do that, it fills in things up top. But I could also pull a product out of my product catalog. I'll take the Georgiana gadget. When I do that, it may, if I've set things up in certain ways, it may pull information about pricing, costing, minimum units, things like that, taxes, because I pulled out of the product catalog. I'm going to sell them 10 Georgiana gadgets. Then I'm going to add another line here. If I would hit the plus button, it'd be great. This is my hardware, now it's my software. I'm going to close this at the same time. You don't have to close them at the same time, by the way. This is $500. Well, $6,500, why not? Software, $6,500. Setting the sales stage, I'll just leave it at prospecting. And I'm going to grab something else here. Oh, darn it. The Star Gadget. Just one unit of these. So I've added multiple items here. Notice what it did. It took the total cost and added it up. So Sugar's taking all the line items and putting them into the opportunity for me. It's also doing the same thing with the close dates. It's taking the latest close date and rolling that up to the opportunity. So now I've just created an opportunity based on a phone call that came in. I can click into the opportunity, and I see it's associated with Union Bank. Aha, did I associate it with Union Bank? No, Sugar did, because I was creating the opportunity associated with the person who happens to be associated with Union Bank. It bubbles up. I can fill in much more information here, but one thing that's really critical is the customer journey. So the customer journey is a fairly new third-party tool that's bundled into Sugar. The customer journey allows me to keep track of how I'm engaging with a person or a company throughout an opportunity, throughout the whole sales process. It doesn't have to be an opportunity. It could be just my initial engagement. It also exists at the company level. So here's my customer journey. Union Bank, generic business to business. I'm going to expand it, and you can see these are the things that we've built. These are our processes here inside the company to move forward in my relationship or the opportunity. This is entirely customizable by you, the end user. It allows you to gauge where everything is, not just in a stage like it's in the prospecting stage, not just in the negotiating stage, but what are the tasks that need to be completed at each stage? And it doesn't have to be only applied to opportunities. It can be applied to any customer engagement. You can make sure that the salespeople are doing what they're supposed to do at each stage, and you can make sure that people who are not necessarily associated with sales are doing what they need to do. I've got one customer who uses this to identify when an invoice needs to be sent. This makes sure that people don't drop the ball and they get reminded when they have to perform a task, or the task is performed for them automatically. So, of the remaining 15 minutes, I think I just took 14.5 minutes. Oh, Garrett, that stinks. Sorry about that. I'm going to finish up real quick here. The whole idea was that I had a phone call that came in. I pursued that. I talked to Brenda. I created a new opportunity. Hopefully, I'll have more tasks to do, whether they're phone calls or meetings, that will lead me to closing and winning this opportunity. And I'm going to go from 0-1 to bright red or bright green 1-1, and we'll make lots of money for my company. So Garrett, I'll pass it over to you. I'll see. In the meantime, I'm going to see if there's any questions while Garrett talks to us about opportunities.
It's fantastic.
It is.
All right, very good. You know, a lot of similarities. Again, a lot of similarities with Salesforce in tracking your opportunities here. Notice a couple of things about opportunities. First and foremost, I'm going to switch this to maybe all opportunities currently in the system. And one of the things that you do have that's a little bit different than SugarCRM is the the Kanban. And the Kanban display is a rather new feature over the last year or so, where basically it's taking our grid view and it's switching it over to listing out our opportunities by the sales stages that they're in. And this actually allows the user to quickly analyze and see what's in their pipeline. Of course, we could do this across the board as management, what's happening within the system. And it's interactive, so I can click directly on the link and go directly to that opportunity. Or I can actually click and drag that opportunity over to another sales stage.
Wow, I like that.
And
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and simply manage my sales stages through the Kanban. So a pretty nice difference. I like this feature in Salesforce, and I think it's got some really good value to it. Okay, let's switch over to accounts again. And I'm just going to, instead of having to research, just like in Sugar, I can click on this drop down here, and I can go back to the accounts that I was looking at and so on and so forth. Maybe I'll go to global media again. It's a record that I like to beat up from time to time. And
They're
so
doing a lot of business, global media. I may have to see if global media is hiring. They're doing a lot of business.
They're doing a lot of business.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and take this account. Maybe I'll start the opportunity from John's record. I'll go back over to John's contact record here. And we'll scroll down, and as we get down to our opportunity section, lo and behold, we have that nice new button. So we click on that nice new button here, and I can either search for opportunities or I can create a brand new one. And I'll go ahead and say 300 widgets. And show me that new option, show me that new option, show me that new option. Okay, we'll go ahead and just cancel that. Let's do it from the account record. I've been having trouble with this demo database. It's always on the demo. So
wouldn't be a demo without it. I see you're using John Amos. He's a great actor. He is a great actor. I love that guy.
I'm going to start it from the account. I've always had much more success this way. And I'm going to go ahead and create that new opportunity. Now, a little box comes up, a little bubble, right? Maybe I'll throw in 600 palettes, make it new here. I've got some required fields, and you can see them by the little red asterisk there. All sorts of attributes are available in both systems, drop-down values, checkboxes, required versus not required, dependent fields, so on and so forth. But that's a required field, so I'm going to go ahead and fill that in along with the sales stage. An example of a drop-down field, of course, customizable. I'll move them right to negotiation, and this is going to be new business. Okay. Did it come from a campaign? You know, we don't have the time allotted in this webinar to talk about all these other great features of CRM, but of course we can always track against campaigns and things like that for analysis against investments into trade shows or what have you. I'm going to make this a $500,000 opportunity, and I'm going to already start going through what the business process ribbon is going to show us in a minute, that the budget was confirmed, and of course I've got additional next step fields as well. Down at the bottom you'll notice created by and last modifier system fields. Most CRMs have system fields. These are going to automatically populate with Cat Stone being the user that I am today, and also today is the 2nd in 2017, so it's going to drop that in. Okay, I just created a new opportunity against the account, and if I go ahead and look down here at the bottom, I see the new global media widgets opportunity has been created. I'm sorry, it's over here, 600 pallets. I couldn't remember which one I did. So now that we've got the opportunity, we'll notice that several of the sales stages have already been checked off, but this is a process ribbon, and this is completely customizable. It allows us to dictate to each user a step-by-step process that needs to be completed in order to close out the sales cycle. And so as they're going through each one of these stages, key fields are appearing that need to be filled out as mandated by the business process. As we've filled out those, we simply move the opportunity to the next stage. There are arguments to this type of technology in your CRM, just like customer journey. This is going to give you very, very good data in the back end of your system because every user is using the system the same way. There are also arguments that this type of process, this type of functionality really brings new users up to speed on the CRM faster because they're just really just following a script. All right, now at the proposal stage, I have to fill in the amount and the close date, and is the ROI analysis completed, and all these fun little things that we want to capture as we're working through an opportunity cycle. Again, just like the accounts view, just like the contacts view, you'll notice it's parsed out. Only this time, news feed is shifted to the right. My activity tracking is shifted over here to the left-hand side. And so if I want to place a call against this opportunity, I would simply just click into the subject field to log the call. And I could put in follow-up to schedule time for proposal review. And of course, I can relate it to the opportunity, the contacts I may be working with, maybe even the leads. I'm going to go ahead and just save that, and it's going to track it against the account. It's going to track it also to the timeline of the opportunity. And so down here, I see my timeline is starting to fill in a little bit.
Very good.
And finally, because I know we're short on time, I won't get too far into this, but if I wanted to at this point, I can associate additional contacts. I can generate the quote. I can associate my products from my product catalog. I have notes and file storage as well. But basically, after that is all set, we're running through this business process ribbon until we're finally at that mark the stage is complete, and the opportunity is tagged as either won or is lost. In this case, we were awesome, so we won the sale.
Very good.
Keep up the good work.
There is a good question out there. Andrew has a question. He says, the price seems to be drastically different, over double with SalesForce. So what's the difference? And that's a very good question, Andrew. First of all, it's not always double. Yes, SalesForce is usually going to be more expensive, have a higher cost, but it may be the right tool for you. We've just brushed the surface here. We really just looked at the most basic features of a CRM. We had a customer years ago who really wanted to buy Sugar. They liked Sugar. Sugar represented it was a very big cost savings over SalesForce, but they couldn't go with Sugar because SalesForce had out-of-the-box communities, and they would have had to build the community feature in Sugar. So for them, it made sense to go with SalesForce. Now, the answer, Andrew, is yes. All things being equal, maybe you go with a lower price tool. Usually that will be Sugar when you're comparing these. Not always, but usually. But the real answer is sometimes you need the more expensive tool, in which case it's the better value because the lower cost tool doesn't give you what you need. And then, too, it may also be that there's people who just like it. You saw the look and feel here. The look and feel is very different between these two products. Some customers say, I just like one over the other. You know, you could have a really great application, but if people don't like it and they don't use it, it's not going to do you any good. I have a question for the audience. In our poll, Kat Stone, you had a poll up earlier about the reasons people, the reasons people may choose something over another. What's most important when purchasing a CRM? It was fairly even, features, integrations, and something else. But 22% of everybody said something else. So put in the chat window. I'd like to know what that something else is as we wrap up here. The next few minutes, I'd love to see in our chat window where you ask questions. Tell us what that something else is. Most of you said cost was the most important feature, most important thing, consideration when picking a CRM, and that makes sense. That makes sense. We do have another poll. Kat, you're going to drop that in. What does your business currently use for a CRM? So please, guys, let us know what you're currently using. Maybe nothing, maybe spreadsheets. Let us know if you're currently using something. Somebody, one person popped in, one of the something else that people use is adoption, engagement versus compliance. Man, that is a great example of the something else when somebody's looking to pick a CRM. Engagement versus compliance, and that may be absolutely critical for your business. If you've got compliance issues, then that could dictate what tool you choose. I see a lot of other people here in this. What do you currently use for CRM? There's a lot of something else's in here. It's also very interesting. All right, folks. I think we've got one more poll, and we're going to wrap things up. We've been showing you the differences here between SalesForce and Sugar. We showed you really high-level basic functionality. Garrett, would you agree that in basic functionality there's very little difference other than look and feel?
There's a lot more to talk about, that's for sure.
That's true. There's a lot more to talk about. If anybody in the audience today wants to know more about either one of these tools, please give us a call, or third-party tools, or other CRMs that we haven't talked about. One of our audience members brings up Microsoft Dynamics, another fine tool. Microsoft Dynamics may be appropriate for you. So if you all want to reach out to us, you can contact Kat Stone, or me, Kevin Cook, or Garrett Hogan. Reach out to us here at BrainCell and let us know how we can help you. If you want to see more of a comparison between these two products, we can help you with that as well. With that, I'm going to let Kat Stone, our intrepid marketing manager, say goodbye for us.
Thank you all so much for attending. We really appreciate all of your questions, your answers to your polls, and your time today. Following the webinar, we will send out an email that has a copy of the slide deck that you have viewed, as well as a copy of this video. If you do have any questions, you will get our contact information. Please feel free to reach out to us with anything that you might need. And thanks again for your time today. Hope you enjoy the Super Bowl on Sunday.
Go Pats!
Go Pats!
Yeah. Thanks, Kat. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Have a great day.